Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today I have some really bad news. So I guess there comes a time in every orchid grower's life where you get this one specific orchid that you absolutely love, and you try to do everything you can to take care of it. And that's kind of like the only orchid that you kind of really don't care if all the other orchids in your collection dies. You just don't want that one to die. So that happened to me. And so a few weeks ago, I did the video on my orchid, the very first orchid that I was able to claim as my own. And was that when I brought it down here, it was doing just fine, it was healthy, it was perfect. I repotted it because the roots had grown too big. Somehow, I managed to screw it up. And somehow, it managed to get crown rots. And I found this out last night. I was dealing with another one of my orchids, and then I look over at this one, and I realized that another one of the leaves had turned yellow. It was starting to turn yellow. So I pulled that leaf off, and then I noticed that the leaves in the center of the plant were black, and so that signifies crown rot. So I pulled the leaves off, and it wasn't like they had any kind of give to them, like they just literally fell off. So now my orchid looks like this. This was the one that started my entire craze for orchids and started my whole thing for this. And now it ended up like that. So I've had this orchid for 5 years now, I believe. I got it in 2019. And it really sucks. It really sucks. Because I wanted this one to live for a long time, like for forever, because this would have been a showcase orchid to demonstrate that, and to demonstrate how long they can actually live for, because if under the proper conditions they can practically live forever. So right now I'm going to peel back the old leaf layers when I previously took them off when they dried up, and see if it is still alive, even just a little bit. Because even if it's just a little bit alive, and if it hasn't gone too far in the middle, there is a possibility that I could save it and bring it back. Some orchids, how they regenerate themselves is through keikis. And so, if that's what happens here, I'm trying to see if that's what's going to happen here. So I doubt it, because this orchid is like completely dried up too. So it looks like it possibly started to do that over on this side. But because it spread too quickly, it kind of stopped doing that before. Oh no, that's gone. It's all woody and soft in there. Let me see. Okay. So crown rot is almost 100% fatal every time. There's no saving the orchid when you have crown rot, depending on how far it progressed. And if it stopped, there's a way that I don't know the way that you can stop it. It just like stops on its own or whatever. But if it grows the keiki before it stops, then that's a good sign that it has the possibility to come back. Unfortunately, this one does not have the possibility of coming back. It looks like it started to grow keiki off of it. That's what this is. That's what that little tiny node is there, where my finger is. And then that just died. Unfortunately, the roots are still healthy. These roots are still healthy, but it's not going to be long before they conk out too, because already it's starting to turn brown and shrivel up. So this orchid's dead. It's sad. It sucks, especially for this orchid, because this was the orchid, like I said, that brought all of my inspiration and my stuff for it. I think I have a few pictures that I can show you. I didn't want this one to die, and I'm guessing it might have been overwatering, because that's one of the ways that crown rot can form, is if you overwater it. So let me show you guys what the medium looks like. Here's the orchid medium. Now I tip it to the side and there's water that comes out, so that's probably what caused that, was overwatering. That's the #1 killer of orchids, overwatering. And I also want to make a note too, that one of the reasons why I'm showing you this, one, because it happens to everybody. Two, also that nothing is perfect. And so if I don't show you the stuff that's wrong, you guys are not going to know when something does happen that's wrong, because I have to go back and I have to correct myself. I say in the description of my channel description, that this stuff is based on my experience with orchids, and these facts that I tell you and this how-to videos and care guides are based off of what I've seen and what I've worked with in the limited amount of time that I've had with them. So all of my other orchids are doing great. This one was, I guess, the one-off chance that happened to be overwatered, that just, I guess, didn't respond well to it when I repotted. It is a very common occurrence. But here is the substrate. Now, it looks a bit dark from the top, from out here, because right now I don't have any kind of proper lighting that goes to it. I hope you can see this good. Let me just dump this out. Yeah, it looks fairly wet. Yeah. It looks like there's springtails in here, which is good because they eat mold and mildew. So I might add this to my terrarium on a side note. But this is one of the reasons why it's not recommended to soak your orchid bark before you get it, or before you repot the orchid, because of this. And so what it does is it speeds up the process of breaking it down faster. So eventually what'll happen is that the orchid bark will degrade and it'll become like a type of soil. And so if you keep it, see, like that, see, it's just breaking and disintegrating now. That's why you don't soak that's why you don't soak the orchid bark. So it sucks. There's nothing I can do, unfortunately. This pot might have not have been a good idea to put it in right away. most of the roots were out of the soil, or were out of the bark. I had it in there like this. So it shouldn't have died. But I guess the combination of repotting and the combination of maybe too much water, because that does look like a lot of water, is what killed it. I should have a picture of this that I'm going to put up in my greenhouse eventually, kind of as a commemorative thing, because I guess I should have a commemorative orchid photo for this one. It survived it survived the trip down here from Idaho, because I had it up in Idaho. It survived any kind of abuse I put at it. It wasn't even outside here in the cold. At one point, this orchid had 9 leaves on it. And when I first got it, it had 2 flower spikes on it. They were white flowers with a yellow lip. Really pretty Phalaenopsis. And what happened was, the second time that it came back, it grew a flower spike that was shaped like this over the center of the plant. It looked kind of like a cobra, and it had 19 flowers on that one flower spike. So it's something that it's an achievement that you can get to when you are able to take care of orchids and can show you what they do under the right conditions. So I never got it to get 2 flower spikes again. It started to grow 2 flower spikes at one point, but then they died. That was while it was up in Idaho, and then I come down here. It didn't grow, which was weird. It didn't have any kind of new growth on it. The leaves, there was probably about 5 maybe leaves on it. It didn't start to grow any new leaves or anything. It just stayed with those 5 leaves. And so I'm thinking that it possibly could have been a problem that happened when it was up there that amplified down here, and amplified when I didn't water, or when I watered it a little bit too much. Also, the type of pot that it was in. The type of pot that it's in is not necessarily a good pot for Phalaenopsis orchids, because they have just one drainage layer in the bottom, a very small drainage layer, but it's kind of concave up at the bottom, so it kind of looks like a dome with a hole in the bottom, and that's where it drains out. But other than that, that's the contributing factor to it dying. It's good that it's good, and I don't like to brag about me knowing stuff about orchids, because I'm still a newbie and I'm still a beginner pretty much at this stuff. There's people out there with infinite more knowledge than me and infinite more orchids than me. And like I said, I don't want to make the mistake that I show you how to do something and there's not still something that goes wrong with it. Like, I've got to show you all the bad stuff, and I've got to show you everything, because then or else it's just basically fake news. There's a jet. That's annoying. Seriously? Technical difficulties. Okay, there we go. So it's now that I know this, I do have orchids that like a little bit more moisture, so what I can do is I can put those orchids in this pot. Each pot is going to be tailored differently, obviously, depending on the conditions that you have. So now I learned from this. It's like Tony Stark from the Marvel movies. I learned from my mistakes, and I don't pretty much make the same mistake again, though sometimes it does happen. I do have a special video coming up for you in the future. Something unique to California, though. So, in lieu of this, I am obviously still going to continue with orchids and getting different species. This orchid is going to be thrown out, though. And in fact, I'll just basically cut it up and throw it in the yard, and it'll go back into nature and be nutrients for the ground again. So that's going to be it for this episode. I hope to see you in future videos. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you've liked the channel, I hope to have earned your subscription today with this one. Stay tuned for future updates, because I have something coming in the next few days that you guys are going to like. A orchid that is signature to California. It is a species orchid. That's all I'm going to say about it. So you better stay tuned, because I've got some good things coming. All right, I will catch you next time.